Healthy living, creating a life of abundance, experiencing freedom and peace. These all come from self-mastery. Welcome to the Life by Design Institute podcast, where we tie together spirit and science to build your personal foundation. Now, here's your host, Dr. Will Miller.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Life by Design Institute podcast this week. Today, we're going to talk about something that's kind of near and dear to my heart. It's living in the moment. And really, living in the precious moment is what I want to talk about, because we hear this all the time, this living in the moment, and everyone makes it sound like we should just do it. Why can't you just live in the moment and let everything else go? But it's not that easy. And I want to talk about why it's not that easy, and then what is it we can do to start living in the moment, and how do we tap into the field or to spirit to help us and guide us in this process. I want to start out today with a quote from Bill Hicks, and I'm going to end on that quote. Bill Hicks was an amazing comedian. He's passed now, and he always brought energy and the subject of energy and spirit into his comic style, and I really think he had it nailed. And he'd end every show this way, and he would say, "All matter is merely energy condensed to a slow vibration. We are all consciousness experiencing itself subjectively. There's no such thing as death. Life is only a dream, and we are the imagination of ourselves." So think about that quote a little bit as I go through what I'm going to talk about today, because I think it's going to make a lot more sense to you at the end than it is at the beginning. So let's talk about living in the moment, and why it's not so easy to just let things go and to live in the moment, as you will. You know, we spend time every day doing the things we have to do. We wake up and we're immediately subjected to the same thoughts we had yesterday, and the same problems we had the day before. And we seem to have this habit. We wake up, and many of us go immediately to our cell phone. We check our email. We start thinking about what we've got to get done for that day. And what happens is about 90% of the thoughts we had the day before start jumping into our head. See, and what we do is we start thinking, and a thought creates a feeling. And so we go about, which creates an action. So we go about thinking, feeling, and doing, and thinking and feeling and doing, and we get caught in this loop of thinking, feeling, and doing, and we're doing the same thing over and over and over every day. And the reason we get stuck in this, what science tells us is our stress hormones, our stress trigger inside of our brain hits us, and we immediately go into kind of automatic mode. And stress happens whenever we can't predict our future outcome, or when we feel we can't control a particular situation, or when we perceive maybe a threat to ourselves, or have a perception that something's not going to go good in our lives, or something bad's going to happen to us. See, this stress hits us. And so when we can't predict our outcome, or we feel out of control, which happens a lot, this stress hormone kicks in and puts us into this automatic mode. And for some people, that happens quicker and faster than other people. But for most of us, they say 70% or more of the population, we are in this stress mode all of the time, most of the time. From the moment we wake up to the moment we go to bed, we're running around in automatic mode, just putting out in our mind fires. You see, thoughts create our life. We think 60 to 70,000 thoughts per day. But each day we wake up, 90% of those are the same thoughts we had the day before. So it makes sense that our lives don't change, because we're living 90% of the same life we were exactly the day before. So the same thoughts basically lead to the same choices, which lead to the same actions, which and behaviors, and lead to the same experiences, which give us the same feelings and emotions, which lead to the same thoughts, which lead to the same choices, which lead to the same actions and behaviors. And you can see how all of a sudden then I'm now stuck in this system of we become what we think, act, and feel. And we're doing this over and over and over. We start doing this, and they say by the time you're 35, your brain's basically hardwired to become your personality and your identity. And then you start living that same habitual chain the rest of your life. And many people go through their whole life just in that vicious circle, over, thinking positively, trying to think positively, but their subconscious takes over. And here's why that doesn't work, because we are only using 5% of our brain for our conscious side. So if I consciously say, Will, today you are going to clear up your financial life and you're going to start making more money. Well, the problem is my subconscious will kick in immediately. Anything goes wrong. As soon as stress hits me, as soon as that automatic nervous system kicks in, boom, my body, my brain are all tied together and I get caught back in that loop. And I can't consciously think about it long enough and hard enough with the right will in that moment to make it happen. Most of us can't. Now, you talk to anybody that's really done something in their life and they've learned to overcome that. Will being one of our intuitive or one of our innate senses is something we have to use to do that. And we'll get into that in more detail in just a minute. So our bodies become basically addicted because whenever you have a thought, it's an energy, creates a feeling, releases a chemical into your body, and you feel that. So if you've gone through something terrible breakup or some kind of trauma, you associate that thought, and every time you think about that trauma, creates the same feeling, creates the same chemical release into your body, and your body over time, they say by the age of 35, or you do it for 20 or 30 years, all of a sudden you're kind of addicted to that feeling. And you wake up and your body, let's say you try to change. Your conscious mind says, I'm changing today. Well, it's not going to change because your body's now addicted for that, looking for that. Now we become victims of our circumstance because we've created this inside of ourselves. Our bodies are saying, I'm now going to come back and get the brain to start triggering that same chemical release that I'm so used to every day, over and over and over. So what happens then is we're now living in our past. We're not living in a moment. We're living in the past. Because every day I wake up, I think the same thoughts. I do the same things. I feel the same things, which trigger the same thoughts, which is, I'm back in that circle, right? Then I look to the future, and my future after a certain amount of time becomes very predictable. So I'm stuck in the past, this past that I've created, or a predictable future. And we start looking for that comfort, right? I'm now comfortable, and I can predict my future, because as long as I keep thinking and feeling the same way, I know exactly what's going to happen in my future. I can create it, right? So I like to say, if we're not using thought in the right way, in the proper fashion to create a new future, then we are left with the memories of our past. Thus, we have no choice but to live in the past, which is where most of us are stuck. So, the more we do this, the more our predictable future becomes, and more predictable our future becomes, and we're now predictable. And we looked for that safety of those predictions and where we're going to be. And the higher the trauma, the higher the more we focus on it, then all of a sudden what happens, and scientifically what happens, is we narrow our focus on whatever that happens to be, that trauma, that breakup, that financial loss, that trauma I faced as a child, whatever that happens to be, and we become more matter and less wave, because we're all energy. And the more we tie ourselves to matter, the more we look for that matter, for the physical part of us to just take over. So how do we break the cycle? How do we break this cycle and stop the matter and get more into the spirit, or get more into the field where we can get information from? Something interesting as I'm sitting here talking is current research tells us that about 50% of the memories we have, our old memories, aren't even the truth anymore. What happens is, especially in traumatic situations, is we begin to embellish the memories to support the feelings that keep us in the past. Because, see, again, we talked about our bodies being addicted to that chemical release. So it's like any other chemical release. Over time, the same old memory is not going to do it for us. We have to embellish that memory in order to get the same chemical release to keep us in the past. So we check the familiar every day through our routines. We wake up, do the same process every morning, go into the same thought patterns every morning, go into the same thought patterns for the day, expecting the same results every day. So I've now predicted my future by doing that, and I have a very predictable future. So what we have to do is break the routine of the autopilot that our body is now in. Our autonomic nervous system, our body, the chemical release, everything is now on autopilot. So how do we've got to break that routine. So in order to change, we then have to now become greater than the body or the circumstances in our current life. See, the circumstances we have in our current life, we've created. We've created by what? Thinking, feeling, doing, thinking, feeling, doing, thinking, feeling, doing, over and over and over again. So we've created these circumstances, this environment that we're living, and we're creatures of our environment. So we have to become greater than our current life, greater than the body, and greater than our environment, and truly greater than time, meaning no more predictable future, right? Because time doesn't matter. And what we need to do then is find our way back to the precious moments or precious moment that we have. So we have to get the past and the predictable future and settle into that sweet spot I call the precious moment. We have to start by making a different choice than the day before. Now, that sounds hard to a lot of people, but we all know how to do it. That's the cool thing, is we really already know how to do this. We've all had moments in our life where we've had amazing time or amazing thing happen to us or accomplished something awesome that we just feel really good about. So we already know how to create those good feelings. So when we start by making a different choice, we have to look at, and what I teach is we look at all the areas of our life, our financial life, our spiritual life, our knowledge, our relationships, all the things that are part of our life. And we look at what we have accomplished. And then the choice we make, once we make a new future for ourselves, or write down the things that you really want in all the areas of our life. I want a new relationship. I want financial freedom, whatever that happens to be. As we write down the things we really want and attach those good emotions to those good feelings, now what we're doing is rewiring. We're trimming those neural ends and creating new neural connections inside of our brain and creating what? A new habit, a new chemical release. Something new to be addicted to, something that actually we have to look forward to, okay? So what we have to do is start making a different choice. The minute you do that, you're going to be uncomfortable because your body's going to go into addiction mode. It's going to go, no, I'm missing the chemical that's usually released. I need it back. And you're going to have to hold on, Because what's going to happen is that monkey chatter in your brain. I'm not good enough. I really don't have the time to do this. It's going to come down to our environment and time again, and what we choose our circumstances to be. And we're going to, and your mind's going to make up every reason in every circumstance why you can't do it. It's going to try to tell you don't have the time to do it. It's going to try to tell you that this person is stopping me from doing this, or this is happening in my life. And you have to have the mindset and will to resist, because your monkey chatter and your body's addiction, now your body's going to tell you, it's going to rule your life and tell you how you should be living. You have to be able to move past it. Willpower, your innate muscle inside of your self says, I have the power to look to where I'm going, not where I've been. And that's what you have to do. Look forward to where you're going and break that cycle. In the place of uncertainty, there is a perfect area that will seem scary to us in the beginning, but it's where we find new ideas and new things. So what you're doing by making a new choice and feeling uncertain and scared is creating a way for you to find the right answers and the right directions and new paths and new ways of thinking and new ways of living. And every time you look and say, I used to make this choice and I'm choosing now to make this choice and move forward, you're creating a new neural pathway, and you've got a little win. And what we want to do is create new thoughts, new behaviors that create little wins in our life that keep us moving forward. So, how do we do that? We start by recognizing our old habits. We start by breaking the cycle that we wake up to every day and breaking up whatever that routine is. And we recognize those old habits and start replacing them with new ones and creating those little wins piece by piece, because every little win you get brings you that much closer to where you're going, this new place you're going, this new place you've defined, this new place that now you're going to put into your daily practice, and you're going to center your heart and your mind, and you're going to start meditating, and you're going to clear your mind and connect to the field, connect to that place within us that all these answers come from. And you can call that whatever you want. A quote by Albert Einstein was, the field is the sole governing agency of matter. Albert Einstein had said that at one time. And that's the truth. The quantum field, the field, spirit, your higher self, whatever you want to call it, is what we need to spend time with and put into a daily habit, a new daily habit of heart-centered meditation and connecting to that field. Because and then listening, and not listening with just your head, because your head is full of that monkey chatter. Your head will lie to you, your heart will whisper the truth. Listen to your heart to give you a whisper of the truth. And it's not going to have a long conversation. It's going to give you a quick answer of truth. And then you take that and you move forward. And that's what you put into practice. Whatever your heart brings to you in that moment, make note of it and move forward. And it doesn't have to be a long thing. 10 minutes in the morning with yourself, doing this daily practice, getting into your heart. I always touch my head and my heart to make sure that they're with each other and in alignment, and then receive that information from the field. Something that Bruce Lipton had said at one time, if I remember right, is our cells receive information from the field, and all of us cells in our body are little receivers, and receive information from not the outside, but from the field, which in turn creates our realities. So if we can tune ourselves every day into the field, or into the quantum field, or into our higher selves for even 10 minutes, and then start to receive new information That's how you break those old habits. The more you think about something, the more energy you give to it, that's the direction you'll go. What you think about grows. What you think about and give energy to grows exponentially. So what you want to do is give your energy that comes from the field to the new direction that you're going. And don't try to write your future based on your past. Clear all that out of your mind and think of and let it tell you the ways to do it. Because the ways you think up are all going to be based on your past, because that's the only place you have to come from. And that's what you'll go back to if you allow yourself. So it has to become a daily practice every single day, at least 10 minutes, letting everything go, knowing which direction you're going. Make sure you've written those down in each of the areas of your life. You've written your goals, and start recognizing your old habits, letting those old habits go, and listening in your heart for the whispers of the truth from source. Okay? So the truth of the matter is we're already wired to thrive. We don't need to find it outside of ourselves at all. And we've been raised and conditioned to look outside of ourselves for the answers. That's not how it works. We're in a world where we have to start moving inward to find our true selves, to find the answers. Look outside the world. It's broken. You have to look within yourself through the field in order to change and in order to grow, because looking outwardly is dying. It's not working. It's already proven it's not going to work. The great thing is anything in life has to go through change, and that's all we're doing right now. Is all these things that are happening in the world are good in some ways, because that means is there's enough turmoil now to create the change, and this is how we change. Nature works in harmony. We have 50 trillion cells living in harmony and working together in our body. 7.8 billion of us can work in harmony. Okay, so learn the process of connecting the quantum field. Information is all around us in many forms. Search for the truth. Don't let fear rule you, and don't let outside influences tell you. Go from your daily practice. Go from what you've chosen for yourself in the direction you're going to go. Once you do, you find a synchronicity within your life, and you'll see little synchronicities start to happen as you do this. And you'll start to see little patterns in your life get better. And then all of a sudden you're living a more loving, a more calm, a more caring, a more peaceful, a more joyful, a more friendly life. And you don't even know why. But it's because you have now decided to take your life into your own hands, stop living your circumstances and environment, and start creating your circumstances and environment. And that's the secret in what we need to do. I only have a couple of minutes left here. I did have a couple of questions I don't think I'll have time to answer today. The one had to deal with PTSD and some issues there. And the process there is the same. We all have triggers, especially when you've had PTSD issues and trauma, bad trauma issues. You have triggers. And it's the same process. It's changing those old thought patterns and those triggers and creating a new joyful thought experience, a new feeling experience, and a new action experience. And it doesn't happen overnight. But again, it's putting those things into daily practice. I have many clients that I work with PTSD issues, and I have many that are living happy, healthy lives now because they've put these processes into work, and they're using them every day in their lives. So I just wanted to read this quote one more time from Bill Hicks. All matter is merely energy condensed to a slow vibration. We are all consciousness experiencing itself subjectively. There is no such thing as death. Life is only a dream, and we are the imaginations of ourselves. That's from Bill Hicks. Thank you, everybody, for being with me today. And reach out to me on Life by Design Institute, or Life by Design .institute, and my email at willmiller at lifebydesigninstitute.institute. Make sure you put the dot before the institute or you can't get a hold of me. And I look forward to our next podcast in 2 weeks. Again, email me with any questions, and I look forward to talking with you all soon. Thanks.
Thank you for listening to the Life by Design Institute podcast with Dr. Will Miller, building the foundation for healthy living, ultimate abundance, freedom, and peace. For more information, go to lifebydesign.institute. Dr. William J. Miller has had an intuitive gift from a young age. Putting his energies to good use, he started his first successful business at the age of 17. His entrepreneurial journey has led him in building several multi-million-dollar businesses, which he continues to this day. Through his unique understanding of frequency and energy, Will has built businesses into successful and productive companies and helped thousands of people create success and understand their divine purpose in life. As an accomplished speaker, researcher, and transformational coach, Will has developed spiritual-based and personal business coaching programs. In addition, Will continues to speak at organizational events, as a guest on radio shows, and as a lecturer at universities. Dr. Will's focus is helping all those he encounters to understand and to live their divine nature.